Hello, everybody. I want to talk about something I call a near fail-safe process, our way to discipline employees. No doubt, disciplining employees can be one of the most contentious, stressful environments you're ever going to be in. But it must be done. As I've always believed, I should not feel guilty for bringing up issues to an employee that they themselves has caused. If they fail to come to work or fail to do their job, it's not something that really causes me concern, especially when performing that job is within their purview. In other words, there's no issue outside of their performance that is causing them to act in that way. If it's purely because of their motivation and lack of interest and will, then that's their issue, not ours. So how best can we discipline employees? How best can we follow a process that's almost fail-safe? I'll tell you first that even though you follow any process, the best ones out there, you still have a chance of getting sued. However, we want to lessen the chances that we'll lose. You can never prevent somebody from making a claim. What we hope to do is prevent them from winning. And also to create a process that would forestall them from even claiming, because they, through the process, see that the odds are against them. The stacks are certainly not in their favor. So there's 5 actions that I would take when disciplining that really exude the type of process and manner that gets across to the employees that we're serious about the action and that we're competent in what we're doing. First, that the manager has to be good and decent, one who thinks the best of others and works to be the best themselves. I've seen too many occasions where we have what I often call polluted, are challenged managers who discipline employees, and they shouldn't be disciplining them, but it's because of a personal vendetta or some kind of personal issue that the employee has with the supervisor or the supervisor has with employees. That should never happen, ever. But you should work for an employer and a supervisor who's a good person, because then when you discipline them, you know it's for what we call cause, which means for a reason. Second is you should have the proper discipline to support a cause. I've seen too many occasions where you have mountains of documentation, but it doesn't really add to the cause. It may be even disadvantage to the organization. In your discipline and in your documentation, you want to ensure that there's absolutely no way anyone can question either your documentation or the discipline that results from that documentation. Third, you have to make sure that the organization addresses similar occurrences and instances of this type of discipline in a similar way. One of the questions I often ask is there anybody out there who's done something similar? Or if they have, what was the discipline that resulted from that action? Make sure you don't open yourself up or your organization to instances where other people have had similar conduct and it hasn't been addressed. Moreover, remember, you can discipline somebody differently. Everybody doesn't have to be disciplined the same. You just have to clearly articulate why there's differences in the discipline. For instance, if somebody steals, you can certainly terminate them if it's something that is against your organization. But if somebody's been there 20 years and you choose not to discipline him for stealing, and somebody's been there for 6 months and you choose to discipline them and terminate them, that's perfectly appropriate. Just explain why. You don't have to get rid of the same employees for the same actions. You have to articulate the reason why. Be very careful, but it can be done. Fourth is something that I see too frequently. Solve the problem once. Don't prolong the problem. Use the discipline that will resolve the issue. If it's a termination right from the get-go, say so and do so. It'll save time versus repeated disciplines. I've seen where some employees to terminate can take months, if not years. And the reason is when you discipline somebody, you have to show that it's an important issue, that it should be done. And when you discipline every 3, 6, 9, 12 months, it doesn't really show a sense of urgency. So show a sense of urgency, but solve the problem. It'll save you a tremendous amount of time and stress. Lastly, act with the sense of both confidence and compassion. Confidence shows that you believe in your action, and compassion shows the humanistic spirit that should pervade your organization. That, in my opinion, is how to best discipline an organization. Discipline is often not a welcome circumstance. But I also remember this, in addition to, if you're a good and decent person, the employee is the one that is calling the shots in this case. They're the ones that are choosing not to do their job. Second aspect is just as important, which means if an employee chooses not to do their job, there's other people that want it. We should concentrate more on the people who want the job, who will do the job, rather than the person who chooses not to do the job. So in disciplining an employee, look at making sure that your manager is good and decent. Second, that you have the proper documentation and that there's no other instances of this discipline or this conduct that is not being addressed. Third is to make sure that your organization has addressed these issues in a fair manner in the past. You can treat your employees differently, but explain why you're doing so. Fourth, solve the problem once. Don't prolong the problems. I know you sometimes want to get away from that, but just solve the problems once. And finally, act with confidence and compassion. Everybody, I wish you the best. And remember, we want to create an organization that works for everybody. And for those people who choose their jobs, they should be rewarded. For those people who choose not to do their jobs, they should not. My best to you all.